Aloha. I'm Representative Cynthia Thielen. I represent Kailua Kaneohe Bay area on the windward side of Oahu, the beautiful place for wave energy systems, which could be located 1 mile to 2 miles offshore and power our islands. I'm very delighted to have Jay Fidell with me today, and Jay is an expert in the high-tech field, and in fact, the founder, if you could explain about that, the founder of an organization.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's great to be here. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here with you. I'm delighted to be here. Well, back in the turn of the century, a number of us formed Think Tech Hawaii, originally to do a website evangelizing technology in Hawaii. Remember all the energy in those days? And then we did a radio show for 6 years on that, ending last year. Now I have a column in the Honolulu Advertiser. We do a lot of video and other programs, again, to evangelize tech for these islands.
Well, the interesting thing is, Jay, you and I both had op-ed pieces in the newspaper. Yours was in the Advertiser, and it was dated June 14th, and it's titled "For Hawaii, Wave Energy's a Natural," which is wonderful. And then I followed just yesterday, June 24th, with the title is Wave Action, and it's kind of fun to see the plug coming into the title of the article. We both are saying wave energy is the right technology for Hawaii. So if you'll talk a little bit about your thoughts about this, and I'm so delighted to see someone with your expertise and your wisdom taking a look at this technology and saying, let's get moving on it.
You know, Cynthia, if we did nuclear, we wouldn't have to worry about any of these renewables, you know. But the fact is, we're not doing nuclear for now. We have a number of choices out there. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are easier than others. Some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them, the technology's not worked out yet. So we can't settle on anything. We shouldn't settle too quickly on wind, even though there's a lot of capital that would like to see wind here and elsewhere. And we shouldn't settle necessarily on biodiesel because there are other possibilities. So we have to keep our options open, that's my view. And I think we have to spend more time on wave energy because we have so much energy out there. We have so many possibilities to consider. And it is actually remarkable that Hawaii, an island state in the middle of the ocean surrounded by waves, isn't further along, actually.
I know, actually, I agree with you. When we had legislation before us this last session, and a number of the major companies wrote in and testified in support of legislation that would help wave energy here in Hawaii. There is one from Matthew Seed of WaveGen. Now, WaveGen happens to be based in Scotland. It's been bought by Voith Siemens, which is an international conglomerate and really a big, big player. They felt that the technology was so viable that they bought the company. And they have testified, they've stated that the application of early stage technology in Hawaii waters will help to secure local expertise and skills in the marine renewable energy, which should result in sustainable jobs. And then he goes on, as wave energy technology develops, Hawaii is in an ideal position to reduce its dependency on the importing of fossil fuels, which will both lead to carbon reductions and increased isolation from price fluctuations. I mean, exactly. And he's saying it. But what's concerning me is that it seems that locally, whether it's the administration or the people from University of Hawaii or wherever it is, that they're saying, wait a minute, we have to wait until wave energy is totally commercial and we can go out and buy a unit. Now, to me, that's the opposite of what Hawaii should be doing. If we want to be a leader, we need things like Act 221, and we need things like, let's get this technology going here with the interest and the support locally. And then we become the leader instead of buying retail from another country.
Sure. Right now we're sending our money offshore for fossil fuel, and we should not be sending it offshore for non-fossil fuel, We should be generating it here. We should be developing the IP here, and we should
Now,
export.
say to the listening public, we should be developing the what?
The intellectual property, the
Thank you.
technology. We should invent it. We have SOWEST at the university. We have so much science here, and we have the waves to work with. When I wrote that article you mentioned, I found there were at least 6 technologies out there. None of them is settled. Some of them relate to one kind of environment and some another. We have different environment here, for example, than the continental shelf off Martha's Vineyard.
And we're lucky on that, because without having a continental shelf, we can have the wave energy systems be closer to shore. The cable is less costly, and it works a lot better. And major thing, we don't get involved in that federal regulatory dispute
Right.
between MMS and FERC. We just don't have to do that. We have our inshore waters within our 3-mile jurisdiction.
So the mission would be to try to get entrepreneurs to do science on this, or the university, to give them grants to find ways to fund the research and have them determine which of those technologies would work best in Hawaii. And then, of course, it would work somewhere else too. So now we have developed IP, intellectual property, and we are a leader. Right now, we're not a leader at all. We're a follower, or worse. I mean, this is happening in Europe, all over Europe. It's going to happen on the East Coast, I think, on the continental shelf there. There's testing going on the West Coast. But the reality is Hawaii is the best place in the world to test this.
How can we get this moving? How can we get wave energy, the support it needs in Hawaii, so we don't end up buying the systems retail from another nation, but instead where we're doing the development, where we're creating the IP jobs?
Well, I think it's going to require legislative help. It's going to require both funding and policy. It needs a statement that we care about this. We haven't gotten that yet. And it needs funding to do research on it for the startups, either a son of 221, a successor to 221, or possibly some other system where startup companies that are into energy, and there are plenty of them who want to be there, There's a lot of people who would come into this. All you have to do is give them a nod, and they will. And then we'll find one of those technologies and we'll put it up at the front, and it'll be right alongside, running parallel to the other renewables. So we'll be able to consider that, use that as part of an array of technologies.
Jay, let me just read from another, the SG2, America's Sid Chow, and his comment was, economically viable, technically sound, mass-produced, durable solutions for harvesting wave ocean energy have not yet been introduced, but the industry, and this is the key part, the industry is presently on the verge of crossing a tipping point beyond which market adoption of next-generation products may easily surpass that of photovoltaic and wind energy technologies.
I agree with that absolutely. In fact, he's doing research, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Right now, and everyone is impressed with what he's doing. I'm not
Yes,
sure
he is.
which technology he's following, but the one that comes to my mind, as a likely choice here is the vortex technology. I wrote that in my article, and I hope that somebody does do the research on that, because that can be below the surface. It's not affected by large waves that might be destructive. People
Right.
are worried about that.
Right.
And no moving parts, so it's not going to be so subjected to corrosion and failure.